Hello and welcome back to Football 301. I'm your host, Nate Tice. Division previews continue today with one of the marquee divisions. At least the television partners will tell us that. Some of the old blue blood teams here in the NFC East. Yes, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Commanders. One of the teams that we see on Sunday afternoons on Fox and on national TV games, but a very interesting division, including the reigning Super Bowl champions, among some other interesting teams. Another Final Four team, the Commanders, should be a very fun division to talk about. Top of the show, we're also going to catch up on some league news, just something that stood out to us in the week 2 of preseason, and talk a little Trey Hendrickson. And help me do all of that on this division preview, my guy, Mr. Four Verts, Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Chuck? How was your weekend?
It was good. I had a pretty relaxing weekend. Had a 3-hour auction dynasty draft that got way out of hand at the end. Yeah, that was way too long, but it was a good distraction because when I was looking at the schedule, like at the end of last week, I was like, oh, NFC East show. That's the put a target on your chest show. So I'm hoping that everyone who listens to this will just be rational and cool about what we say in this podcast. You know, we're just trying to do our jobs here. We're just trying to give you these takes. It's not life or death. We don't hate you personally. We don't hate your quarterback. So yeah, we're gonna be gentle and just get through the river on this and try to come out alive on the other side.
Right. We're gonna talk quarterbacks, but we're also gonna try and focus on the 24 plus other contributing members to each football team, the other starters. You know, there's other guys that impact this football game. I don't know if the Super Bowl, the last year's Super Bowl, it was quarterback versus quarterback. That's what Taylor Swift thought it was anyway. So it was just quarterbacks matched up against each other, like a couple gladiators. But, the Eagles defense is something we're going to talk about today. That's going to be a little fun because they were part of that Super Bowl run. But yeah, should be a fun division preview. You know what else is going to be fun? How about this transition? We're bringing the Football 301 crew to Sin City. That's Las Vegas this weekend for a Yahoo Fantasy Kickoff weekend on Friday, August 22nd and Saturday, August 23rd. That's this weekend at the Venetian Resort here in Las Vegas on the Strip, my hometown, or where I live now. It's going to be a ton of fun. From 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on both nights, you can catch me, Matt Harmon, Mr. Verts over there, Charles McDonald, and the rest of the Yahoo Fantasy crew at the Yahoo Sportsbook inside the Venetian. We're going to have a meet and greet, a fantasy Q&A, and on Saturday night, we're going to share our 10 biggest pieces of draft advice before the season starts. Won't want to miss it. Going to be a ton of fun. Again, that's Friday, August 22nd, Saturday, August 23rd at 5 p.m. at the Yahoo Sportsbook inside the Venetian Resort in Las Vegas. Also, this matters. It's free. So come on by, talk some ball with us. It's free. The drinks won't be, but it'll be free at least.
Oh, no, definitely not the drinks.
Definitely not the drinks, especially in Las Vegas. Once you start gambling away at those tables. But no, it'll be a ton of fun. So make sure you come out there, come hang out with us. We will be having a good time. Yeah.
Let's say I did learn this weekend before we get to the rest of the show. I did learn this weekend that drinks used to be free at the casinos in Vegas.
Yeah.
And then they realized, you'll still pay for the drinks anyways,
There's a couple locals ones. Yeah, as long as you're gambling.
Yeah.
That's like a little hack. You set up the thing and you just play a little video poker, you put $20 in and you get some free drinks. They kind of know though. And they're like, hey, that guy's not betting that much. So we're going to take our time as we go over there.
Yeah, that's where I get got. Yeah. That's where I get got when I go. Yeah.
The little video poker. I play craps. So yeah, I get got a lot. But it's parking used to be free. It used to be like, they would just comp stuff based on your play, based on all that stuff. But yeah, times are changing, especially here in Las Vegas. But I was going to say, that's going to be a good time hanging out with us. Who's not having a good time? The Bengals. The Bengals are now officially listening to trade offers for perennial Pro Bowler Trey Hendrickson, guy who's been battling for 20 sacks the last couple of years. Teams were told that Cincinnati's asking price included a young defensive player and a 2026 first-round pick per Diana Rossini. Before I kick it to you, Charles, and about maybe our favorite Trey Hendrickson possible landing spot on this saga that's been ongoing for a while, even Hendrickson has already hinted it's been 3 years of this now. We're just like, geez, man. Tell me how you really feel. I'll just say right up before I even kick it over to you, Charles, first rounder is not happening, at least in my eyes. I see a second rounder potentially, and I was kind of looking at maybe some recent history of these types of trades, an edge rusher, maybe before the season, maybe during the season. And the two I found were, especially for this age of edge rusher, is Khalil Mack getting traded to the Chargers in 2022. And so Khalil Mack went for a second and a sixth. It's actually kind of comparable. It's not perfect one-for-one play style. Mack's better against the run. Hendrickson's better against the pass. Similar ages, though. Khalil turned 31 before that season. Trey Hendrickson turns 31 during this season. Mack had a little longer contract. This is Hendrickson's last year, I think. And Max, though, you could get out after 1 year. So it was kind of like dead money, or money you can get away from after that year. Kind of that's what I see him, Hendrickson, going for. The other one that I found was the Von Miller trade when he got traded to the Rams during their Super Bowl run. That's when Von was still Von, and he went for a second and a third rounder at the trade deadline in the middle of the season. Second rounder is kind of what I'm picturing for Hendrickson. I was curious. I want to ask you what maybe you think that Hendrickson goes for, and who are some potential landing spots for him.
I guess first, I think he probably goes for a second and probably a mid-round pick. Anywhere from like fourth through sixth round makes sense. If you wanted a first-round pick, you probably should have traded him like 7 months ago.
14 days before the season.
When you're backed into a corner and everyone knows you're backed into a corner, that's when you think you're going to get a first round pick and a young, good like defensive player on a rookie deal. Come on now, like this isn't Madden. You can't just cheese like other human users. These are real life brains. It's not going to work like that. So if you can get at this point, if you can get a second and change, you should probably just call it a day. If you're really just this committed to not paying him, which I still don't quite understand because they're so thin on defense, and I just think that when you're trying to gun it for a Super Bowl, why not just go after it? And when you have an offense that scores many points, that helps someone like Trey Hendrickson, who's a better pass rusher than he is run defender, and you can kind of keep him in scripts that are positive for his play style, even though it's negative for the team overall at times. If I was like I think one team that makes sense is the Chargers. We just talked about them. Khalil Mack is, this is probably gonna be his last season with the team, if I had to guess, or at least maybe one of his last seasons as an NFL player because he's getting up there, and he's one of the older edge rushers in the league that's starting. They got Tuli Patolo. Oh, I messed it up again.
I'll give it close enough. You hit the board.
I banked it off the backboard and it bounced off the rim. I got close there. Yes. But beyond that, like they don't have that much pass rush depth like behind him. So again, we saw last year with the Chargers that Jesse Minter is going to be good enough where he can coordinate like a so-so defense to some pretty high heights. But we saw when they hit some of the better teams like the Ravens and the Bengals, they kind of got run out the stadium. So maybe you still need a little bit more premier talent. And I think if you have someone like Khalil Mack up front, then that makes life easier for Trey Hendrickson. Like that, I think that's a pretty good pairing. And if you look at cap space, the Chargers have almost $100 million projected to be free next year. So why not? Like you have the space for the extension. So go after it and try to maximize his window. One team that I saw that didn't make sense, I think Diana Rossini reported this the other day, were the Cleveland Browns. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what are you doing? Okay, first of all, intra-divisional trade. And you don't need Trey Hendrickson right now. Just sit there, sit still, and just wait for the offseason to come. Just sit down. You don't need to make any moves right now. You got enough going on.
Stare at the Jaguars record. Like that's all they should be doing. Stare at your own record, stare at the Jaguars record.
and stare at the Deshaun Watson cap number. Stare at the cap number for Deshaun Watson.
Still
you
don't
need to trade for Trey Hendrickson. Yeah. And will be next year.
Still on the roster. Yep. Actually Chargers is a good one. I actually didn't even have that one kind of come to mind. And even like Hendrickson is not good against the run. I would even say he's below average against the run.
Yeah, I was trying to be
on
nice.
The field. Yeah, I know. We both are. He's a good player. It's just you have to discard these guys, And so he needs help up front to just shore up on early downs. So, so he doesn't get his ass kicked and every team just runs at him. Chargers got some dudes. They got Tier Tart. They got some beef. Khalil Mack, you brought up a great point. That's a perfect stylistic fit. Kind of funny how that ties in to even my like example of this kind of trade that this works out too. The team I went to, because it's NFC team, kind of pushing, but have a young team where they have some cap room as well, is the Packers. Just because, yes, the Packers are always about, we want our young guys to grow. We're going to give them as long of a landing strip as they need. Well, yeah, we can keep giving Lucas Van Ness snaps and all that, but we can also get a guy that maybe gets us 12 sacks, 14 sacks, especially for a team that should be in some good game scripts. Like you mentioned, that's such a great point. Like Hendrickson for a good team makes a lot of sense, more than most edge rushers. It's like, yep, I'm fine with this, because hypothetically, if you're on a good team, you should be in the lead in the fourth quarter, let Hendrickson pin his ears back and go. Also, health too. Hendrickson plays hard and is on the field a lot too and doesn't miss time. That's also big if you're trading for a guy. But yeah, so for the Packers, though, they have a willingness, it seems like, maybe a little more aggressive this year, maybe loosen those picks up if they feel like they are pushing. Get the receiver room healthy and then we can really talk. But they have cap room. They're kind of contending. There may be, and they have a young team. So it kind of makes sense for me as far as like where we can drop him in. It's not a really old defense. It's a lot of young guys on the defense. Let's get a guy that we know we can count on right away. We don't need any projection. So that was the one that came to me. It's interesting. I don't know if anything happens, but it's just like Bengals just really have painted themselves in a bad spot here.
Yeah. This whole thing has just been it's been kind of a mess. And, it's funny. I'll give this Bengals fan, I'll give a Bengals fan one thing one time right now. They checkmated me, or I think they did a nice little checkmate against us on Blue Sky earlier this summer when we dropped the top 10 defensive players list, because they were like, you guys are talking about paying Trey Hendrickson $30 million a year, and not one of you even mentioned considering him having as your top 10 defensive players in the league.
No.
But that's like what the pay would be. And I'm like, okay. I can kind of see where you're coming from. But in your situation, just look at the rest of the defense. For me, that's where I'm at.
Yes.
I just don't think they can afford to lose a guy like this, even with the flaws that he has. So pay him, and just go try and maximize whatever window you have.
They have no other players. Like, yeah, I know. And it's like, yeah, you can say, our young guys can make a jump, but it's like, okay, but you're projecting like, that's 11 guys that you're hoping someone, really it's like 9 guys that you're hoping someone takes a step. I was like, I always have some answer on your defense that you can set your clock to. We also, now it was week 2 of the preseason, still have a game tonight, actually, a Monday night week 2 game, and what's going on with that schedule. But 30 other teams played over the weekend. I like to kind of look at the film. We watch the TV copies. What is one thing, though, for you, Charles? What was your one takeaway? What's one thing that stood out for you week 2 of the preseason?
I think one thing that stood out for me is that we made a lot of fun of Dillon Gabriel in the draft pick, and I don't feel bad about that. It's still a little silly to me.
I did day 3 grade on him, and I stand by it.
Yeah, same. But he showed that he's not going to be a pushover as far as like the Shedeur Sanders hype train this weekend, which I think is interesting because, myself included, I was looking at this like, Dillon or Shedeur can just beat out Dillon Gabriel, or he's better than Dillon Gabriel, but maybe that doesn't quite matter with the politics of things. But I don't know. Like Dillon had I think we just look at like the process of what he did. The interception was a little wonky. The spacing was really bad on that play, but still,
Deontay Johnson.
You play right. Deontay Johnson was off, but you played 6 years of college football. We kind of brought you here so you don't throw that ball and just throw it away or turf it or something like that. Yeah. So that was shaky right there, and the fumble was kind of weird. Like that a bad exchange, which I don't know. That to me, that's just like preseason nonsense. Yeah. Don't know each other. Didn't play a whole lot of under center at Oregon. Didn't play any under center ever in college. At UCF, probably Oklahoma, not. Or Oregon? No.
All of them are big spread heavy teams. Yeah, they're probably not. Yeah.
Gus Malzahn, Lincoln, and then Dan Lanning last year. Yeah, those are all big shotgun and spread guys. So this is like some of this is new to him, but I thought he operated the pocket pretty well. I really liked how decisive and quick he was with the football in the short field. It was kind of funny to see him try and scramble one time, and it was going against Jeremiah Trotter Jr. And he just like hawked him down like 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, and he slid. I was like, "Yep, this is the NFL speed," and that's like their third string linebacker who might not make the team. So, the physical limitations I think are still going to be a problem for him. But I thought just for his first game, considering like, he wasn't really viewed as like a serious factor to perform well or be a factor in his quarterback room. I thought that was a pretty good start for him.
Yeah, his best rep is something I wanted him to do, like where it was a question mark for me as an NFL player, and actually it's a question mark still for me for Shadur, is that first third down is how he hung in the pocket. He stepped up, maneuvered, and then found I think it was the tight end over the middle of the field. But that was a nice little play, I thought, a real NFL play that translates even to the regular season. No, that pick six was funny. So it's a bootleg.
Makuba had a big game.
He did, dude. I couldn't stop. He had a huge game. I couldn't stop thinking because I think he had a forced fumble or fumble recovery as well, and he had a big game. Yeah, but that's he big brother Deontay Johnson on that play. He truly not only got the pick six, but he led to the pick six. On a bootleg though, is you're always going to have flat, you're always going to have an over, and then usually you have a comeback or a vertical route. And the number one rule for quarterbacks, why nakeds and bootlegs kind of are called training wheels plays, because everybody has them, their day one install, is you should never get sacked and you should never throw it into coverage, because you either throw it right at the flat runner's feet or you throw it out of bounds because you're out of the pocket. It should be a nice, easy throw out of bounds. It's always should get to the back to the line of scrimmage. And on that play, the tight end, who's the flat, that's a slide route, so he's going all the way across, he gets pushed back 5 yards. He should be at 1 to 3. And then the over route, Deontay Johnson, one of the least detailed players in the entire NFL, he should be at 15 to 18. He ends up at 5.
Yeah, that was crazy.
A flat route that should be at 3 yards, and an over route that should be at 15, what's it called, 14, 15. They ended up at the same spot. I was like, oh, preseason football, baby. That's what we're all talking about. Yeah. But you're right. Gabriel should have just thrown it away. But yeah, Deontay Johnson was a saboteur on that play. It was pretty funny to watch as a former quarterback.
It's just funny when you watch those plays in preseason and you're like, oh, someone here doesn't know what they're supposed to do, like at all.
Deontay Johnson was too short. Tight end didn't reach for the pass, and Dillon Gabriel shouldn't have thrown it into that area. Just one thing, one bad play leads to another, and leads to a pick six. The guy that stood out to me, I almost wanted to go Seahawks offensive line and the Seahawks run game, and Gray Zabel and everybody along that front that looked really good in the run game. But I went with Caleb Williams and the Bears offense. Holy crap.
That's right.
That's awesome. That's what I'm talking about. It's big preseason caveat. Big, all that good stuff. And simple coverages. Not that the Bills run a lot of funky stuff anyways, but I thought Caleb looked in control. He looked confident. He's a confident guy anyways, but I've always thought his in-pocket play has been underrated, and that's why I kind of had some baby Drew Brees comparisons when he was coming out, because of his footwork, his polish. That's exactly what I was talking about, how it looked last night against the Bills. On third down, he adjusted a protection again. One time he confirmed with Drew Dahlman on protection. I was like, okay, you got some confidence. On another third down, he changed the cadence and the guy to jump off sides. And then also just completing those passes. The touchdown to Zacchaeus was beautiful. Only good things happen when you throw the ball to Zacchaeus. Hit it working the tight ends. He hit Cole Kmet down the pipe against too high. And I was like, yeah, no hesitation either. It wasn't like he was like, oh, he's open, then throw it. It was Dak Prescott makes a living on that throw. And then you see Caleb throw it, and then you're like, oh, you see the tier difference of arm. Dak is above average arm. Oh, yeah. Caleb's is holy. That thing has some RPMs on it. And it gets me excited. This is the NFC North pod. I ended kind of going, hey, Caleb's going to be my breakout player. And just this, I'm really optimistic about the Bears. Spoilers, I think they can sneak in as a wild card team. It's just with the defense, but that's why, is what that offense looked like. Yes, it's preseason. Yes, all that stuff. But it just looked so clean and just looked like they just knew, everybody knew what they were doing. And that's why I'm optimistic about Ben Johnson. And I thought Caleb was controlling the whole thing in just a really advanced manner, just a confident manner it was palpable when you were watching the Bears last night. So yeah, that was my takeaway. It looks like, there's been some reports about, not looking great, but I think that's because Ben Johnson is rule stickler. I think he's a little tight on those rules. So I think that's a little bit part of it, but yeah. That's why my optimistic was just that little glimpse that we saw in the first quarter last night.
Dude, the second throw, like I was watching that live, and I had like that moment, like the Adrian Peterson, when I seen him throw that ball. I was just like, holy crap, because it just exploded out of his hand. And what it was so cool is I think if you're someone who's like a Caleb detractor, not detractor, maybe a skeptic that maybe is not as good as the hype suggests, you know, you could point to a lot of plays where maybe he held onto the ball too long and got sacked last year, but you know, this was so decisive, you know, and when it's decisive, that's when the physical ability truly gets to shine. Like there were even just like short routes, like little speed outs or curl routes to the sideline where it's just 1, 2, 3, and it's just firing across the field. But when he plays on time like that, it's hard to beat because he can throw the ball so damn fast. And he was you know, in control, and obviously the caveat, you know, the second string defense for a Bills defense that was absolutely garbage to end last season. So we all know it's going to be harder than that in the regular season. But it was really cool to just kind of see the first iteration of what this could be. Colson Leveland looked great. You know, getting both tight ends involved in the passing game on their drives, that was really cool to see. So thumbs up. I can see, you know, after watching last year, right? And then we get to training camp and all the Bears players in like July, they're like, this different than what we were doing last year with Eberflus. This is a bit more detailed. And you hear Ben Johnson, you know, all these reports of him getting mad, like everyone trying to do things by the rules. You got to be precise, but this is what it could look like, you know, when everyone's dialed in like that. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what happens. I know the Bears are cursed from an offense perspective, like for their whole history, but that was a really cool thing to see.
It was, yeah. Again, preseason, but it felt very real. It felt like that the hard work they're putting in. Okay, now we're going to see a little gains. And I'm sure Ben Johnson was going like, everybody chill out. I think there was a little bit of that going on with some of those play calls. They had some designers up there down. I was like, all right. But we're going to take our first break and we'll come back with our NFC East preview, starting with Big D, the Cowboys. All right, we are back. Start with the Dallas Cowboys, who went 7-10 in 2024. Again, for these previews, we're going to do offense, defense, a breakout player, and then we are going to pick over under on their win totals. Cowboys finished 7-10, fired their head coach, promoted their offensive coordinator. We got another Schottenheimer in the NFL. Been around for a while. They hired Clayton Adams from the Cardinals, who was an offensive line coach by trade and is now the OC, but probably basically the run game coordinator. On defense, they hired Mr. Eberflus, who you just mentioned, from the Bears, former head coach of the Bears. Just an interesting team, these Dallas Cowboys. I think there's been some news about contract negotiation between Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones, but we'll talk about that on the defensive side. But let's start with the offense. They drafted Tyler Booker from Alabama in the first round. They're trying to beef up that interior. So now you got the Tyler. So as long as Tyler Guyton's healthy on their offensive line, Tyler Smith is an all-star, all-pro caliber guard. Cooper Beebe had a nice rookie year. Traded for George Pickens. They did a lot. Just trying to catch up on all these news items for the Cowboys. But Charles, what are you focusing on with Dallas, and how do you think they can fare this year?
I think it's two things: the offensive line, how that comes together. Because there's like Jerry likes to do, and it obviously helped them have like a bunch of great offenses in the 90s and the 2010s. Is just spend on the offensive line. You know, we're going to spend first round picks, we're going to spend contracts. So you have Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Tyler Booker, the three Tylers, all first round picks. Cooper Beebe was another top 100 pick at center. So like these are guys that have pedigree. And, you know, in theory, should play well. And I think, like, if those guys can kind of hit the ground running, I think especially the interior trio, because I know Booker had some detractors in terms of maybe he's not the most like athletic guard, but I don't know. I just don't really feel all that worried about him because he's so damn strong. You know, it's not like he's going to be playing on an island. And I think in this run game, like he can be an absolute monster if he can stay healthy. And that interior trio, I think, is so key for them. Because if you can get those guys moving, I don't really think it matters who you have behind. Like if Tyler Booker can come by and play at an above average level, you got Tyler Smith playing at an all pro level. Cooper Beebe is, you know, a plus starter. That's a really good start. And then we'll see what you get from the tackles. And I think from there, you move on to I think Dak's gonna be fine. Last year, to me, it's kind of a blip on the radar. When you look on, like even before he got hurt, he wasn't playing well. But when you look at the whole mark of his career, that was by far the worst season he's ever had.
He was all-pro 2 years ago. He was coming off an all-pro year.
he got MVP votes. Got MVP votes, you know?
Yeah.
So it's been cool to see, at least them build this offensive line and get Dak back. Now, what's fascinating here is the George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb conundrum. I don't even know if it's a conundrum because CeeDee is better than George. He's obviously a lot better than George, but it's going to be interesting to see how George handles not being the number one. So far, I haven't heard of any George blowups during camp. It felt like we heard a lot more when he was in Pittsburgh about things happening at practice and stuff like that. But it seems like he's dialed in. If that's so, then that's a really strong wide receiver too for CeeDee Lamb. Like the floor for this offense is really high, I think, and the ceiling high too if the offensive line can mesh and get going.
I'm with you. Like, Matt was the only one that had him in the top 10. I think he had him at 8.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like where I think this offense, I think this is a top 16 offense, top half offense. I would say pretty easily. Everything's hard in the NFL, but like high floor is a good way to put him. Like, I know what Dak is. Dak is so consistent. It's just the surroundings changes how the talking points are. It went from, every week it's should he get traded? What's his legacy? He gets an all-pro team. He wins a playoff game the year before that. And then now we're right back to where we started. It's like everybody just refreshed, but it's like, even any way you shake Dak, like I have him higher than most people. I consider him a top 10 guy, but really top 14, no one's going to squint at that. Like, so at the very least, that guy was hurt last year. He got an offensive line. I like the Pickens fit as far as stylistically. You mentioned personalities, which we'll see. But I do think there's a hierarchy there that helps. But I've said this multiple times. I finally got some stats on it. But Pickens is that true X. Dak loves having a true X, and because he likes a traditional route tree from his X's, which is very vertical, very isolated. And that's hard. There's not a lot of guys that can win that way. Usually just the dudes. And Pickens is kind of weird where he's a 2 in my brain, but he does the isolated receiver stuff really well. It's just it's hard to rank him that way because then there's other things he doesn't do as well. So Gallup is probably a little bit better than Gallup, but Gallup was in this role in this offense. CD can now be the slot, can be the flanker, Z can move around. And then you got Jake Ferguson as the number 3 pass catcher. It's like, okay, that all works really well in my brain. That's a good 3-headed monster in some ways. Ferguson's not really a monster, but he's solid. But Pickens, Dak loves throwing these stop routes on the outside, which are really hard. You need a dude at receiver and you need an accurate quarterback. Jane Daniels and Terry McLaurin were successful on these last year. The Eagles have been, actually it's all NFC East teams. The Eagles have been able to make a living on these as well because A.J. Brown can just throw his guy 10 yards past because they're threatened by him vertically as well. But
they killed Malik Neighbors with him too in New York.
Malik Neighbors, I think he had the highest rated hitch routes last year. So yeah, we'll get to that. That's actually kind of funny.
Pinball.
Really laying this all out. A lot of hitches and stops in the NFC East. Next Gen Stats categorizes stops as hitches. A hitch route is a 5 to 6 yard. It's kind of fun. There's a quick game version of everything. There's a long drop back version of every route. A hitch is a 5 to 6 yard hitch route. I'm defining it with the word in breaker, curl route, 5 to 6 yard curl back to the quarterback. A stop is the intermediate version. That's the 10 to 12 yard version. Dak loves those. Pickens is good at those. But Dak has thrown those routes as categorized by Next Gen Stats at the second highest rate in the NFL among current starters since 2018. He also throws slants a lot. That's what he likes from his ex. CD was having to do that because of who else was in this offense. Now you got Pickens, who runs a lot of slants. But Pickens, since 2022, since he entered the league, second most yards in the NFL on go routes. Remember, isolated, vertical. Only behind Tyreek Hill. Seventh most yards on hitch routes in the NFL among receivers since 2022, with the 7th highest catch rate over expected. Like his expected rate to catch these was 68%, and he caught them over 80% of the time. And that, I think, it sounds simple. It sounds like, why you keep peppering this talking point? Because I feel like I've used this talking point 3 or 4 times in the offseason. It's because Dak loves throwing them. He's going to throw 5 or 6 of these a game. So now they actually made it valid again. That's just another avenue for this offense that has me excited. The run game, in theory, I'm excited about too, but it's just, I wish they had a running back that got me really juiced up, and that would have really kind of put me over the top with them. Maybe they make a move for somebody, but Javonte Williams is Javonte Williams. I know that. I know what he looks like. I know what he does. He's blind, but he's going to run hard. And then Miles Sanders. I like Jadon Blue, but he's tiny and he has fumble issues. So I think he's always going to be a guy that needs another guy. And do they trade for somebody? Brian Robinson off waivers, Brees Hall potentially. Matt threw that out. I was like, ooh, I like that. Hunter Lepke is a fullback on this roster I like, but it's just a couple of questions I have. But like you said, back to the original talking point, it's a high floor offense. The ceiling is going to be based on where the run game kind of takes it. But I do think that no matter what, this passing game is going to click in a lot of ways because the styles make a lot of sense. So, yeah. It's an interesting team, man. It's such a weird team to talk about.
They're always weird, just for the wrong reasons. But I'm with you on the run game. I think the way I should, I guess, express how I feel about the offensive line is like I think there's a world, an attainable world, like where they just kick ass like on the inside. Right. But these guys are these like Beeb and Booker are so young. Probably just want to give them a runway just to still continue to grow. So I don't know if that's like a fair expectation to have. Right. But it's something that like is in the realm of possibilities. And if that happens, then the running back situation doesn't matter as much. But I'm with you. I wish they had tried to get someone like just someone with some pedigree back there, whether in the draft or something, because it's not all that threatening. When you start looking at what they got in the backfield.
And like Jadon, I keep comparing him to like a Diet Coke. Achan, where he's small, but he runs like a real running back. Like he has good vision. He runs between the tackles, but he's 190 and he fumbles like that. As exciting that is, and you want that type of player in your offense that can provide some juice. It's like, well, I'm not going to give him 20 touches though. Like it's just physics and like probability of him fumbling. So again, it's like, man, if they just had some like a good version of Javonte Williams, like him, but better. I love it. Like a bruiser in this offense, but they don't.
Like Ezekiel Elliott, or something like that.
Yeah. Can we call him back up? Get him back for a third run? But seriously, though, how about I'll end with this. I'm watching Titans preseason stuff. And this was a thing for fantasy guys for years and years and years. Okay, why is Zeke getting all these touches? Why is Zeke getting all these touches? Why are we not giving it to my favorite running back, Tony Pollard? Haven't you guys seen Tony Pollard gets 10 yards per touch? Why is Tony Pollard not getting more touches? Because he couldn't pass protect and he never ran between the tackles. I put on that Titans film. That guy is depleting guys in pass protection, and he ran between the tackles on a duo clip. And I was just like, where was this in Dallas? You would have still been there. You would go for 1,400 this year if you could have done this in Dallas. So I have to bring that up because it's like, what? Yeah. Why are you doing it now? God, you would have gotten so many touches back in the day. But anyways, let's switch on over to another interesting unit on this Cowboys team, the defense. It's got some weird holes on this team on top of some decent players, including Micah Parsons, who's still in some contract negotiation stuff. But they got some, when he came back from injury last year, brought the heat. They got a new defensive play caller, like we talked about, Eberflus. But what are you focusing on with this defense? How good do you think they can be? Or are we trending towards a more bottom 10 unit? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, man. It's kind of hard. Basically, the whole case, I think, for their defense is, well, we have Micah Parsons. But you haven't signed him yet. And I mean, the good thing for them on that front is he's going to get signed, and two, Micah is not one of these guys that's going to come back for that week 1 game against the Eagles out of shape. Like you don't have to worry about that with him. He's going to be ready to go. 100 miles an hour. That's going to be fine. They're going to get it done. That's just something you got to deal with the Cowboys. And you're a fan of that team. But the rest of this, man, I don't know. Trayvon Diggs is on PUP, so who knows when we're going to see him. It seems like he's had a really long recovery from his injury that happened late last season. Deron Bland is like, as your CB1, that's not a great spot to be. Like he's like the ideal CB2, I think, that's going to jump passes and take chances. But when it's your 1, you probably feel the impact of that a little bit more. The linebacker room, DeMarvion Overshown is hurt right now, so you got Kenneth Murray starting. I mean, this is not really a great defense. Like I guess if you're trying to make like a best case scenario for this is Micah Parsons gets back, he's ready to go. He looks like he did the back half of last season, where he had 11 sacks in the last 9 games after coming back from a high ankle sprain. It's just ridiculous.
With no help.
I can't
with
stress
no help
it
around
enough.
him.
No help. Yeah. Like just by adding him for the last 9 weeks of the season last year, they went to a 10% sack rate on defense. Like it was
we can't keep bringing. We've run this up since it happened because I remember you brought it up about Joe Burrow versus Micah Parsons being like really fun to watch, but like it can't. The Dallas was a dead team last year, and Micah came back and was like, "I'm going to win every single game by myself." And it's you don't really see a defensive player do losses. That. His competitiveness is like, that's like you said. He's going to be back in shape. No worries.
You don't have to worry about that. And then you got Osa Odighizuwa, who I think is a really good pass rusher. I don't always love the stuff against the run, but like hopefully the offense can score enough points where those guys can just pin the ears back, because I don't really know if they're going to be able to stop the run this year. That's one thing that I look at this team and was like, I don't know how you plan on doing that. Like you'll get the TFLs because Micah Parsons can do that. Osa can do that. Kenneth Murray can do that in spurts when he shoots in the backfield because he's fast. But on a down and down basis, I think it's just going to be tough for these players to be gap sound against the tougher run games. And if you go back last year and you watch the early season game they played against Baltimore, oh my God, like they just got buried like every single play. It was bad, and that was when I wasn't even sure, what the Ravens' offensive line was going to look like, because it felt like they were still a little hit and miss.
They were a bigger question mark than the Cowboys' defense.
Yes, and they walked in there and just steamrolled them. And it kind of set the tone for them for a long time, where they had one of the worst run defenses in NFL history for a while before Micah got emotional coming back and said, "No, we're not going to play this poorly. I will will us to a mid-tier record by the time this is all over." So you need those guys to get a lot of penetration. It's going to be a boomer bust defense. Even with Bland too, like he's probably going to have to live off the pressures that these guys make. But man, from a down to down spot, I just don't see how they can be consistent with this personnel.
Yeah, I mean, I really have nothing to add, because those are the same questions I had. It's like, Micah Parsons is the dude. He was second in pressure rate in the second half of last year when he came back, only behind Trey Hendrickson. Funny. But almost nearly 20%, which is absurd. 10% is the baseline for a contributor. Like you're aiming for, if your whole D line is 10% or above, you're cooking. So he's getting double the pressure rate of a solid pass rusher. Like that, it's crazy. And I counted it, he had 8 pressures when he was double teamed last year. So 8 times in the second half of last year. 8 times he got a pressure after being double teamed, which is just, I mean, he plays so hard.
Stats, dude.
He doesn't, there's a couple guys, including, there's one guy who might be the best defender in the league, or he's battling for it in Cleveland, and Myles Garrett, that sometimes when he gets double teamed, he's good. He's like, we're down 30.
Get him next time.
I'm all right. Like,
get him next time.
Not Micah, but trust me, these are top guys. I'm with you. I just don't know how they stop the run, because even the guys I like that they maybe drafted, like Donovan Ezraku from BC, good pass rusher. I think he'll be feisty against the run, but he's undersized. So just that natural size that I think they need. Maisie Smith is a nothing. I think Dallas fans are over him anyway. So I know enough. I don't think he can do what they need him to do, which is play the run. And then Osa Odighizuwa, what you said, he's a gap shooter. Gap shooters are fine, but if you have a gap shooter, you need beef next to him. We talked about with the Bucks in the Bucks preview, Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey. That makes a lot of sense because they can kind of balance each other out. Gap shooter with a nothing burger. Micah Parsons is undersized. He's kind of boom bust against the run, but he plays hard. It's just that he can get overwhelmed against a double team in the run. So, and then I look at their linebackers. I like Jack Sanborn. I think he ends up starting for him. But I know what Jack Sanborn is, another Badger. He's fine. It's just better than what they got, but he's fine. That's scary to me. That's just a lot. That's not a lot of size and just not a lot of overwhelming ability against the run. Like they are truly going to have to be a run and hit and rally team against the run, which is fine against some teams. They can just overwhelm them with speed. But against the Eagles' offensive line, don't really like that much. You think of the other good NFC teams. I'm just saying potential playoffs here. Rams, 49ers, Seahawks. I'm just going through all the NFC teams.
Seattle after this week. I don't know.
Hey, I got my stock. But then you look at the NFC North. Vikings run game's gonna be better. Packers run game, Lions run game, Bears run game, even with their interior trio. NFC South, Bucks, Falcons, Panthers. Saints aren't making the playoffs, but Saints. Like, I just rattled off all the NFC teams. They can just trot on these guys and get 5 yards a pop. At least that's what it looks like to me. Like, do they need Jay Tua, a 7th rounder, to do something? Like, I don't know. It's just they need another offseason. Just add role players to this defense as opposed to stars. Yeah. So I'm with you. I have a little hesitation on their defensive end, and I don't think they'll be outright bad. I made a joke, but it's just hard for me to see like this is going to be a top 10 unit.
They could be bad. I don't know. I think having Micah Parsons, having a pass rush will help a lot. But man, like the construction of this defensive line is just like, the more you look at it, it's like, what kind of happened here? Because you have, like you said, you've got Marshawn Nealand, who I guess is probably one of their heavier defensive linemen in general. Because
he was a Zimmer defensive end, and then they fired Zimmer.
Yes. Yes, classic. But dude, they'll need him because look at who else is out here. Like you said Ezra Raku, who's who's going to play, I would imagine, 245, 250 this year. Yeah. Dante Fowler, Solomon Thomas. We talked about Diggy Zuwa. I mean, this is a small defensive line, man. Like this is a team that could have used John Hankins, our guy John Hankins, because 1 year,
bring him back,
kick ass against the center guard on first down and then get off the field, please. But that's what this team needs, and I just don't think they have the horses up front to be a defense that's going to play in like positive game scripts that allow them to do what they do best, rush the passer. Now they'll still be able to because Micah Parsons is a Hall of Fame player and Diggy Zuwa is like a Pro Bowl level pass rusher, but you're not going to be able to maximize this the way they want to.
Yeah, I know. It's should be. They're gonna beat some better teams, but it's just like they're gonna be frustrating against some other teams. All right, let's go to breakout player. Weird roster to find a breakout player, but I'm curious what you went with. Who's your breakout player for the Cowboys?
I went with Tyler Booker. I love this film so much at Alabama. Like the game that he played against Texas A&M last year. I mean, it's just a complete tire fire disaster for Jalen Milroe. But I just got lost in like Tyler Booker just absolutely annihilating these Texas A&M, the Oklahoma game, the Oklahoma defensive lineman. Just nothing got accomplished out of it, but it was cool to see. So I'm in on him. We know with Brian Schottenheimer, this is going to be a physical run game. I think he fits perfectly. So I think this is going to be a pretty good pick for them.
Did I ever tell you what my dad's eval on Booker was? Like he liked him, but like what he thought actually was the best like landing spot for him was, and because I was picturing these certain teams, and he was like a team that throws the ball, like does a lot of like quick game throwing. Like he would be best in. You know who likes throwing quick game? Dak Prescott. So I was like, okay. Because I thought he thought the Bengals would have been a great spot for him, and I agree because all the gun, quick passing they do. But yeah, I thought that was interesting because I was picturing other teams for him, and I was like, okay. And so this was a landing spot I didn't envision, but actually made more sense. But that's a good one. But I just think Booker's floor is so high, and if he there's gonna be some quick guys that get him, but like he's gonna maul so many guys. My breakout player is the guy right next to him, Cooper Beebe. Just because he's built like SpongeBob SquarePants. He's got little short arms, but he's strong and he's smart. And I think he's just very technically sound. So I think that that interior trio is going to be fun to watch. They might have some blemishes against certain teams, but I think they're going to be able to get after a lot of undersized pass rushes that get them. Like, I mean, we're going to be talking about a different defense later, the Commanders defense. Like, I think they'll be able to overwhelm their interior guys. So, going with Cooper Beebe. I couldn't really figure out a different one because they have an interesting roster, and I think all their guys that were younger are kind of broken out already. I'm not going to go like Osa Odigizua. He's been paid, those types of guys. So, all right, over under win total. It's at 7.5. Are you going over or under 7.5, Charles?
I'll go over. Actually, I'll go over. I think the offense can get them over, but the defense is their fatal flaw that stops them from getting 10 wins.
Okay, I like that. I'm right there with you. I think it's a nice 8 to maybe 10
7.5
win
feels
kind
slow.
of team.
7.5 feels a
I
little
thought there would be
low.
8.5. It does. I know.
They got some
which is
firepower.
also, it's starting to smell, and I'm trying to figure out why.
Right, yeah.
maybe our entire discussion about we don't think they could stop the run could maybe hinder that a little bit. They did win 7 games with Cooper Rush, as their quarterback for most of the year. So, all right, we'll go on to our next team, the 3-14 Giants. 3-14, like it just happened, but it did just happen. The New York Giants, the New York Football Giants, Big Blue. Still same head coach, still the same offensive coordinator, still the same defense coordinator, still the same GM, which usually you don't say after a team just went 3-14. Keeping everybody, seems like a last hurrah. Got a new quarterback no matter what. Daniel Jones is now in Indianapolis, and it's going to be Russell Wilson, it looks like, and then probably give way to Jackson Dart at some point this season, who they drafted in the first round. But Charles, what are you expecting out of this Giants offense? What are you focusing on? I thank you for leading off on this one.
That's a tough question, man. I guess I want to see the next step of Malik Neighbors. I'm not sure, because it's kind of interesting, because I think when you think of Russell Wilson, Malik Neighbors, we're just going to see deep bombs galore, but that's not really how they used Neighbors last year. Like, we talked about a lot of the shorter stuff he did, which I think is what led to some of the injury issues that he had towards the end of last season. I mean, he was getting beat up out there. So maybe this is like, this pairing with Russell Wilson gets back to like some of the stuff you saw at LSU, where there's more deep shots, because as we saw this past weekend, or we're seeing this preseason, that Russell Wilson can still hit that deep ball. It's one of the few things that I think you can still count on in his game. So maybe that's something that's explosive, but it's just hard to even talk about this without getting through the offensive line, because I just don't know what to expect here. I'm going to throw our friend Seth Galina under the bus from PFF, because we were talking about this yesterday, and he was saying that this could be like a solid unit, and I was like, I just don't know, man. But he also made the point that not with Russell Wilson. Like, probably not. Okay. This is probably not going to work with a quarterback like Russ, and maybe not a rookie quarterback, but I don't know. This just doesn't look like a good unit to me. How Greg Van Roten is still starting in the NFL? Like, that's kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, I can't say.
So what
good.
have I expected? I don't know. Not much.
They have some interesting young guys. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Like Tyrone Tracy's cool at running back, which makes the Cam Scadaboo pick a little interesting to me.
Weird.
He was also hurt. Theo Johnson, I really like. I'll talk about him more in a sec. But Theo Johnson, I like. But Malik Neighbors, he had a 30.9% target share last year. Highest in the NFL. Only guy above 30%. 1 out of 3 dropbacks was going to Malik Neighbors last year. It's still one of my favorite. And I think we just started the show, and I called this out. And this is what's so funny about quarterback evaluation in the NFL, because this guy still has a job. Drew Lock last year took the first preseason games. I think Jalen Jones was hurt. And you could tell Dable was like, yeah, we just drafted this guy to Neighbors in the top 5, or whatever it was, top 6. Wait till you guys see this. Watch this first play. All right, we're going to send him vertical. It was just this concept that was either it's run, and if it's single high, you throw a pass. And then Drew Lock got fooled on it on a day 1 coverage read. So he threw into a cover 2 look and then scrambled around and got hit. And I could just tell they're all excited. We're going to just throw a go ball to our top 10 pick. Wait. We're going to get the fans going. The boosters are going to go nuts. Yeah. Let's check this out. Talk radio is going to love this. Sack. Way to go, Drew Lock. There he is. I think Russ is going to start. Like you said, the deep ball stuff will be interesting, but also Russ behind a shaky offensive line scares me. I don't think the offensive line is going to be outright bad, but it's not going to be good. Marcus Bowe that they drafted in the 5th round might be starting for him, who I really like. And apparently he's had a great preseason. Yeah. I mean, not apparently, I watched it. Playing both tackle spots. So at least they have something to throw at left tackle if and when Andrew Thomas is hurt again. Speaking of which, our buddy Keegan Abdu at Next Gen Stats had a Russell Wilson stat. So Russ threw that 60.1 yard heave last week in the second preseason game. That was just the second 60-plus air yard completion by a Giants quarterback since 2016. Things have been tight.
Preseason game.
Things have been tight there.
Yeah.
Been a lot of tight offenses there. Old Eli and Daniel Jones is going to lead to a lot of tight offenses. But yeah, it's a brutal schedule. Hardest overall.
Yeah.
They're only favored in one game right now for the entire season. 17 games. They're favored in one game. The Saints. And I think they are.
I was about to say Saints or Browns.
Yeah, it's the Saints. But they have the hardest schedule by strength of schedule. They start the season at Washington, at Dallas, home Chiefs, home Chargers, at Saints, home Eagles, at Denver, at Eagles, home 49ers, at Chicago, home Green Bay, at Detroit.
Oh,
so
no.
Where are you going to drop your rookie quarterback in that takes a lot of sacks? That's a tough schedule to start with there. But yeah, it's. I'm trying to figure out this team. They're trying to figure it out. I think it's more about really a win for them this year on offense is if Jackson Dart looks competent. I know they're super high on him from the preseason. I think he's been solid preseason. A lot of screens, a lot of underneath throws, a couple nice throws. He's got to speed it up 1 sec. He always takes an extra little hitch. But it's more about the interesting young guys for them. And I really just want to figure out what they do with the quarterbacks when they decide it's Dart. Dable's in a weird position where they get drafted his quarterback of the future while he's also kind of a lame duck. So or on the hot seat. I shouldn't say lame duck, but on the hot seat. So that's gonna lead to some stuff because he's already doing some weird things. So he dropped Jackson Dart in for a random play in the preseason game. And they're like, yeah, run a screen. All right, come out. And Dart's like, yeah, I had no idea what was that. So I think things are going to get weird with this offense throughout this year, even if they have some interesting young guys. And check out Marcus Bowe. Defense, though, got some dudes on this defense. Got maybe a new age NASCAR front for this New York Giants defense. What are you focusing on, though? And is there anything that can maybe – did you have them as a top 10 defense? Can't remember.
Yeah, I had them as number 10, I think.
I think we both have them in the top 10. We both think they can maybe take a little leap here. But what makes you excited about the Giants defense?
Well, I think, what pushes them into, more comfortable with them being a top 10 defense as opposed to this time last year, more so than Abdul Carter, is like you got two legit secondary upgrades. Paulson Adebo at corner and Javon Holland at safety. I mean, man, if you watched that defense last year, like they had to do something at those spots. And it was nice to see them be aggressive and like go find two sure starters. I mean, I think Adebo, like at his best when he's locked in and he's not, sometimes he just does some dumb stuff. Like I remember at the end of the first Falcons game last year, he got just one of the most egregious pass interference penalties on a third down that led to a game-winning field goal, and he got up and he's cheering. And it was so bad that as soon as he hit Mooney in the air, all his teammates were like, bro, why did you do that? Like before the ref even threw his flag, right? And he gets up and he's cheering and everyone's like, dude, that was the most obvious PI of all time. So like, he's still got a little wild child in him, but I think like on a down basis, he's really good and a big upgrade. And then Holland's pretty steady too. So those guys are big upgrades and that will just help. What's got everyone, kind of worked up right now about this defense is the performances of Abdul Carter in these first preseason games. Now, I know he even responded to it, the chip block where he got demolished against the Jets. Hey, that's going to happen. It's like when you're playing on the edge and you're playing against a team like that, it's going to be physical. It's just going to happen. And he's a slender guy too. So I'm not really surprised he got knocked on his ass, but also I don't really care. I don't really think he should pull all that much from that. But what we have seen is like when he gets moving forward and they can create like some space for him, especially like on the interior and even on the edge too, like he is so freaking fast, man. It's hard for guys to stay in front of him. So now you think about, well, week 1, Dexter Lawrence is going to be playing next to him. That's going to command a whole bunch of double teams. You got Brian Burns. Darius Alexander has had a solid preseason too. The guy, the defensive tackle they drafted from Toledo. So like they have some real like ass kickers up front, and now they have all this speed on the edge too. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. The linebacker room is solid. The one area of concern I think is probably the other cornerback spots, maybe outside of Debo. Deonte Banks, I don't think he's probably where they envisioned him being coming into year 3, especially after the rookie year that he had. So we all know he's talented enough to play at a high level in the NFL. You just got to do it. But man, that front, that should be enough for them to have from the best defense, or one of the better defenses, I should say, in the league.
Yeah. There's not a lot of offensive lines that can go toe to toe with this defensive line. One of them's in their division, funnily enough, But yeah, I think when you and I are going to be doing those Thursday preview shows during the season, I think the Giants defensive line is going to get a lot of Haas fight nominations when we do the Haas fight segment. Just all right, who are they playing? Chiefs offensive line versus Giants defensive line, Haas fight. Like, I think we're gonna have a few of those this year. Yeah, Abdul Carter looks like the real deal. Got to stay off the internet, stay off the social media. For sure. You know, just yelling at people on social media already. Just I like my edge rushers having a little psycho to them, as we just talked about with Micah Parsons. So like, I'm fine with that, but also just. But him on the interior, man, they could do some cool pass rush looks with him when he kicks inside on the edge. With Thibodeau running, kind of knifing down, Burns is screaming down the edge. Lawrence, you mentioned him. You know, Tyler Nubin, their safety, he can really bring it in the box. Like he's gonna knock some heads off this year. Holland's a good solid starter to pair with him. I like that kind of safety pairing. I like Drew Phillips. I think he's a good player, and I think he's a good slot player as well. So really, the guy I have the biggest question mark is their former first-round pick corner on their defense, Deontay Banks, which we made jokes about and talked about. I swear he had a good rookie year. I swear.
He did.
I swear I remember watching him going like, wow, this guy's going to be a Pro Bowler in the future. Like if he just really keeps it going.
In a tough scheme too. That was when Wink was the DC, right? Mm-hmm. That was Wink's last year.
Yep.
It's not easy, man.
Yep.
I don't know what
and maybe that was
here.
part of it. Just he's better in man coverage all day. Maybe, you know, some guys are like that. So, but yeah, I think this is going to be a top 10 unit. And it's just because that pass rush is just going to be so cool. And I think they just have enough on the back end to kind of, or if they don't get home, they're not going to get shredded. And they do some cool scheme stuff. I would say the one scheme thing I don't like is for whatever reason, they do this like soft quarters look against like condensed splits where the safeties are, I don't know, it's just like a shell. It's like a true shell. And it puts a lot on their linebackers. So like, I think that would be their Achilles heel or something I'm kind of keeping my eye on. Are you going to be good against the run? Or are you just going to be like, we're fine and we just take our jabs so we can get the pass rush downs? So that's one thing I'm keeping my eye on, because some of the stuff when they like keep it light boxes, it's like their guys aren't great sorting it out, and you can kind of jab them a little bit. So it's something I'm keeping my eye on with them in regards to how high they can go on defense. Breakout player for the Giants. A lot of interesting young guys on their offense. So I'm curious where you went with here.
I actually went with Drew Phillips for my breakout player.
Nice.
I think this is. Sometimes you just like guys just end up in a perfect environment for them to have a great year. And I think that this is it. Like getting to Debo, getting to Holland, you're going to be in a lot of like favorable passing downs, especially if Dexter Lawrence can stay healthy. The one funny thing about the Giants season last year is like Dexter Lawrence had like Nikola Jokic level on-off splits as far as their run defense goes. Like when he's on the field, it's just really hard. When he's off the field, no, he can basically walk down the field. So I think getting those defensive line upgrades was helpful. But, you know, for a guy like Phillips, you're going to be in a lot of favorable spots just from the personnel around you. So I think this could be a year that he breaks out and becomes like a more known name as one of the better nickelbacks in the league.
Yeah, he's just another one of these guys. I mean, there's so many good slot players that have come in the league, and I think just dynamic, I should say. Good in coverage, feisty against the run. He's a little undersized, but he's feisty against the run, and I think he's a good pressure guy too. One guy that got unlocked under Shane Bowen when he was with the Titans, and there's some variableness to that defense, was Roger McCreary, who I've been a fan of. Yeah. But Andrew Phillips and McCreary are built exactly the same. They're both 5'11". They're both 190 pounds. They both have kind of that similar smart feistiness to them. So yeah, I like Andrew Phillips as a nomination for this because one, I think he's a good player, and two, I think having all the help around him is going to really just highlight his skill set. I kind of gave away mine. Obviously, I kind of can't help myself ever. I talk too much. I went with Theo Johnson, tight end, Penn State year 2 guy. One of a lot of talented young Penn State tight ends in the league. Brent Strange was my breakout player for the Jaguars. And I also think, Tyler Warren's going to have a nice year. Already a good blocker. His preseason clips, he's had some really nice blocks. He's big. He's 260 long. He can run. Kind of 30-yard screen pass. Like he can take and run with it. Stretch the field. I think I'm not saying, this guy's going to be top 5 guy in fantasy and all that, but they designed plays for him. Last year he was starting to get about half dozen targets a game before he got hurt. They targeted him in the red zone, designed plays for him in the red zone, and Neighbors can only take so many touches. Like somebody else has to catch the football. So I think Theo will step up into that role. I think, maybe he'd be the number 2 in this offense by default. And also, Malik Neighbors, we got to mention this. You mentioned some of the injury stuff, maybe the wear and tear. He hasn't practiced in almost 2 weeks now. Like, it's like 12 days now. I'm keeping my eye on that. Like, not practicing period is a little, I don't know, keep my eye on that. Neighbors has been fighting a lot of stuff since he's out of the league. So
I mean,
look for the little Theo Johnson reppage.
Last year with Neighbors, that was maybe the first time that I've ever thought, watching a wide receiver, like, oh, the workload's a little too high here. Like you're putting a little too much tread on these tires. You're having like a Larry Johnson 400 carry season. You gotta dial that back a little bit. It's only year one. We got a long way to go in this Neighbors journey.
Long way to go. It's like, I know you guys are excited, but can we ease up on another 5-yard hitch route to him in the slot? Like, can we chill out?
Just get demolished out
Neighbors
there.
I know. I haven't really highlighted Neighbors. Neighbors is sick. Like, he is just, that receiver class last year was so good. That's what's so funny. Everyone's like, oh, so are you down on, like, you're saying nice things about Neighbors. That means you're down on Dunze and Harrison and all. I'm like, no. It's like, no, I'm buying stock in every single one of these guys.
Everything is a debate show. Everything is first time.
Everything. I know. All right. Well, we're now 5.5 wins for the Giants. One of the lowest in the NFL. Over, under 5.5 wins.
I'm gonna go under. I just think the offense stinks too much. Like, I think the marriage between Russell Wilson and the offensive line is really troubling. But defense can drag them to about 5 wins, I think.
I'm going slight under. It's that schedule. That's a hard schedule, and it's like, yeah, I think the defense is going to keep them in games, but they're going against teams that I think can just, keep their offense in the bind. And Russ, those deep balls, he does look confident right now. Russ does better than he did in Pittsburgh, I even think. But it's just the offensive line with question marks. There's just, scheme wise, I think Dable's a little stubborn with some stuff. I know he's doing it. Dable did do a nice job of, making Jackson Dart's offense a little more comfortable for him. That touchdown to Dulcich was like the Ole Miss money play. A lot of play action, pull the guard, hit the tight end right over the middle. But it's like, I don't know. They don't have enough to insulate that offense where I think they can just really lean on something over and over. So I think it's going to be explosive. I just don't know how efficient it's going to be. And then Dart, I think he's going to be so up and down, I think, as a rookie, because he just tries for big stuff and he's a little too tough for his own good sometimes. So it's like, I just don't see the angle there where they can find these wins. So I think, they're going to be a 5-6 win team. I'm going to go with the under as well, even if I do like a little bit of aspects with this team.
It's a tough way to play football, man. It's a tough way.
It's tough.
The good defense, bad offense. It's tough for 17 games, man. It's tough.
And you look at their division.
It's really hard to be perfect on defense,
Yeah. And then you go against the Eagles offense, the Cowboys that should be better, and then the Commanders that aren't exactly an easy out on offense either. Right. Probably be a top half even pretty easily as well. All right, we're going to take our first break, and then we're going to come back with those Eagles and Commanders offenses and defenses and breakout players, all the good stuff. See you guys in a second. We are back with the defending Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Pretty good offense, pretty good defense. And by pretty good, I mean we had them all in our top 10 offenses and top 10 defenses. Return just about everybody on offense, replacing their right guard, which has just been a project area anyways. Return the head coach, new offensive coordinator, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of offensive similarities. Same defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. This Eagles offense that has so much star power at every position. Charles, what are you focusing on? What questions do you have about this unit? You had them as number 3 for your top 10 offenses. I was number 6. Matt had him number 5, but easily all top 6. Any questions? What are you focusing on? What should be a good unit?
I guess the only area of concern I have is, what's going on with this Landon Dickerson injury. I'm not sure if he's going to play week 1. He had a minor knee procedure, and he's injured right now. He's not. Yeah, meniscus. So I'm not sure what to expect there, but man, even without him, you still got pretty good 3 with Mailata, Jurgens, and Lane Johnson. So, I don't even know what to say really, because we one thing that we've talked about
Coca-Cola
is
that's what I just keep calling them.
I've drank Sprite before. It's really good. Everyone likes Sprite, and Sprite gets the job done. We just saw Sprite win the damn Super Bowl. So I guess
saw Sprite win the damn Super Bowl. It's such a great thing.
Because, and another reason why I struggle to like find new things to say about this offense is because we, like last year, when you get Kellen Moore, who coached Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert during his time as an offensive coordinator, this offense, it looked the exact same as the year before.
Yep.
When they fired Brian Johnson.
Yep.
And it looked the same as the year before that, because like it's kind of like we talked about with Russell Wilson before. Some quarterbacks, no matter what offense they play in, is going to have to be played a certain way. So we've seen it before. I imagine this will look the same. There's going to be a lot of go balls. There's going to be, a heavy amount of running. I guess it just depends on health, because we've already seen this at its best. And if Landon Dickinson can recover and get back, to pretty good shape early in the season, they're going to roll again. I don't know. It's really good. They got a lot of good players, and they just won a Super Bowl, and they all came back.
I know. I'm pulling at every thread trying to find something interesting for this segment, because that's the thing. My first thing was, okay, I like Tyler Steen. He's been a little project for Jeff Stoutland, their offensive line coach, for a little bit. I think he'll be fine. I think he's going to be a solid starter at the very least at guard. And again, it helps when you have two nice players around a new starter. It really does help. And then it's like, all right, Dickerson has a meniscus. I've heard a meniscus. I'm not an NFL player. I heard a meniscus though. It's about a 4-week injury, give or take, maybe 6 to kind of get there. So I think he'll be back, in September, probably October is when he feels fine. All right. Well, and then they got Jeff Stoutland as the coach. So even if they had some intrigue about who's starting at both guard spot, I still trust their offensive line coach, So it's not like, okay, I can't really pull at that thread. Last year it was, new center. Are they going to put more on the quarterback because that's what Kellen Moore likes? Like you said, same offense. This center has been groomed in the system, hit the ground running. All right. What else we got here? All right. What else can I pull at? Their backup quarterback, Tanner McKee, might get traded. That's interesting. I think, to me, Tanner McKee's an interesting subplot. Really, for me, and this is where some of the quarterback ranking stuff that people lose their heads about, it's just that their passing game can hit some lulls sometimes. But guess what? They won the Super Bowl with those lulls. From the second half of last year, from week 10 to the divisional round, this offense was 14th in passing success rate, 12th in EPA per dropback. Not awful, but average-ish, above average. Didn't matter because they had the best run game. They were averaging more EPA, 0.15 EPA per run in the second half of last year. Mahomes, or an MVP caliber quarterback season, is about 0.18, 0.2 or above. So their run game was basically an MVP caliber quarterback. That's how good their run game was last year. I don't know if anyone has ever heard an old coach or a scout or anybody involved with football. What do you need to do? Run the ball. What do you need? And then what else do you need to have? A defense. Guess who won the Super Bowl? The best rushing team with the best defense. So really it's more just what I want to see, as opposed to they need to do this to win these games, because they've already shown that they can win with the 53% designed run rate in the second half of last year. Weeks 1 through 4, they were 41.5%, which was 16th. They said, screw it, we're running. That's what we're doing. And then we're going to be explosive through the air. They had one of the most explosive passing attacks. It's just never going to be consistent. We talked about the quarter, this is the Jalen Hurts offense. It's going to be more downfield. He throws a beautiful go ball. They have great players to catch those go balls, and he's going to throw corner routes. They have a great tight end to catch one of those corner routes. It's not broke. Don't need to fix it. They just won the Super Bowl. Everyone's telling me this is a great passing game. So, all right, we're good. I know. So it's really just more just curiosities than anything like, I need to see this or I need to see this. I did like the John Mechie trade from the Texans. It's nothing sexy, but there's been this whole thing with Philadelphia and their fans maybe going like, we need another receiver. Let's trade for Jahan Dotson. That's great. We'll get another receiver. They need a dirty work guy. They need a guy that can back everyone else up, but also just block and just do the frisky things. That's not Dotson. So I actually kind of like this as their backup receiver, because he can kind of just fill in for everybody and do all the dirty work stuff. So I actually just like that little minor trade for them. But really the most interesting thing is just consistency in the passing game. But that's just going to be more about hurts his growth as a player and just any other new layers, because they've just been running the same plays for the last 3 years, 4 years, ever since Steichen took over play calling 4 years ago. The defense, though, which especially once Cooper DeJean kind of dropped in as a starter after the first few weeks of the season, I mean, ever since that, they geared up, and Vic Fangio really got a feel for his personnel. This defense was awesome last year. One of the better ones you're going to see really in I won't say our lifetimes, but this decade, one of the better ones you'll see. And they lost a couple players. They lost Josh Sweat. They lost Milton Williams, lost CJ Gardner-Johnson, but this is the Eagles, baby. They have guys in the back holster ready to gear up to take those starting snaps now. So, but this defense under Vic Fangio was so good last year, Charles, really the strength of their team. What are you focusing on with them?
Oh man, it's like, you maybe you get a little concerned about the guys they lost, and you're waiting to see like what that depth looks like, but they still positioned pretty well to bounce back from some of those losses, man. Like even you go to last year, you have the breakout performance for Zach Bond. He was absolutely incredible for them last season. And then the Kobe Dean gets hurt, but you go and draft Jahad Campbell in the first round, who looked freaking awesome against the Browns this past weekend. He had a sack on Dillon Gabriel. You just saw like the range and the speed from him. It's going to be a big difference in the middle of the field. So like that's a big plus for them. It's going to help their run game. It's going to help their pass game. And having Bond next to him, even like Nakobe Dean, like still working in whenever he gets healthy, like that's a really good linebacker room. So you feel good there. What else I think about when I come to this defense is like the development of players over the past couple of years. Because like the Nolan Smith that finished that Super Bowl and the Nolan Smith that started his career in Eagles, like they're like two different players, man. And it's a good reminder sometimes, like when you look at these draft prospects, Nolan Smith, he was 21 when he got drafted. And you're going to enter an NFL strength and conditioning program where this is your job. Like you have nothing else that you need to do but get better at football. So like when he gets better, or when he got better at like playing against pullers and crashing down and spilling stuff, I was like, okay, like he's like actually like maturing into like what his NFL body's going to be, and that's encouraging. Jalen Carter, talked about him a million times. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. He's going to be a monster. And then I think the wild card here is like Jordan Davis. I don't know how much we talk about it anymore, but like the old adage of like the contract year defensive tackle. Oh, he slimmed down. It's a contract year. But like with Jordan Davis, maybe that could be something. Because even last year, I thought he came on towards the end of the season. A lot of that had to do with like all the talent that was around them. That's a big help. He's going to play a bigger role this year. But the talent's there. They got Moro Ojomo, who was a really quality backup for them. He's going to be in a bigger role. There's still so much talent. And then you get to the secondary. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. I really like the Jacorian Bennett trade that they made from the Raiders, trading over Thomas Booker and getting him, because I think you're probably a little concerned about where Keely Ringo has been this preseason, but Bennett, I think, is a nice little insurance policy. So, this defense is really good. They got a lot of good players. They're returning the coach. They should demolish people again.
That's where I'm at. You had them as your top defense, and me and Matt had them as our number 3 defense. So, consensus top 3, unanimous top 3, I should say. I keep looking more and more at it. And you know what's even crazier? All these guys are under rookie contract. They're projected starters other than Zach Bond. And Reed Blankenship was an undrafted free agent, and he got the 1 year add-on, our RFA thing. That's crazy for a defense that you have right now as number 1. I have it as number 3, and feeling confident about it. And they're just coming off a Super Bowl championship. Whew. What this defense can grow into is really cool. Like that's the thing, when you have young guys, you're gonna have a little more volatility. You just have a little bit of that, but I don't know. They have answers. They have body type answers. They of course have schematic answers. They just have speed, everything complements each other.
Everything, yeah.
Like, I mean, you get Cooper DeJean, of course he gets the standout. So I'm glad he brought up Quinyon Mitchell, who wasn't like, oh, he's a promising corner. He was an outright good cornerback as a rookie from freaking Toledo. I think we got to emphasize that over and over and over. Dude went Toledo, Senior Bowl, first round pick. Oh yeah, I'm a good corner. That just does not happen. Like, it's hard to be a good corner at any year, much less a rookie. So they just have so much cool stuff with this team. And then just the young guys, and you brought up Ojomo and Jalix Hunt. I might have a little tidbit. I'm still figuring out which one I want as my breakout player, even as we're doing this segment right now. But like Ojomo last year, he had 0 sacks, 0 TFLs during the regular season. Okay. But then once the playoffs started, had a sack, had 2 TFLs, started playing about 40% of the snaps. And really, over the back half of the year, Ojomo had a higher pressure rate and a higher stop rate. So a stop is it's their success rate, how many yards you get on certain plays. It's a good success play for the defense on your tackles. So it's not empty calorie tackles. It's the with Foya Luakan stat, because he had a lot of empty calorie tackles in Atlanta. And then he gets signed by Trent Baalke, who just sorts by total tackles and signs linebackers. He's supposed to be a nice guy. I'm sorry, Luakan.
Yeah.
But over the back half of last year, Ojomo had a higher pressure rate and stop rate than Jalen Carter. 8.9% pressure rate compared to an 8.6% pressure rate, 4.3% compared to 4.1%. Now, Jalen Carter was getting double teamed, had a lot of focus on him. It eases up for everybody. But Ojomo was playing well, and he stood out in the Super Bowl as well on those limited snaps. Jalen Hunt, going to save for our next section, so I don't want to spill that yet. It's a really good tackling team. They're sound. They got young, interesting players across the board. You just brought Jahad Campbell, was a great fit for this defense. He has medical stuff. That's why he fell. But, man, he brings some pass rush juice from the inside linebacker spot, which Fangio unlocks. That's what this defense does so well. That's why Bond got unlocked. We blitz these guys down the pipe. We drop one of our ends, and we just change up the protection rules for the offense and just really, we're only sending 4, but you have to use your running back to block. Campbell, we just saw in the preseason, he's great at that. He's great against interior guys. So keep on cooking. This Eagles defense is going to be really, really good. Should be really fun to watch kind of these young guys keep growing. But yeah, breakout player for the Eagles, for the defending Super Bowl champions, who are not rebuilding. They are simply reloading.
Yeah. I went with Nolan Smith.
Nice.
Man, I just watched the development from where he started to where he is now, because I was a little bit a little hesitant, I think, coming out, because man, at Georgia, obviously he got hurt that last year, but the impact was kind of, it could be a little hit or miss, where, you saw the 4.4 speed that he stood at the combine sometimes, where he was chasing on the backside, but none of it was really refined. And now where he is, coming back to that Super Bowl, just go watch where he is, where he's able to physically stand up against offensive linemen, still got the speed to run around them. I just think that this could be, kind of a potentially nuclear year for him, especially because you still have Jalen Carter. That's guaranteed. If he's on the field, that's going to be a problem for offenses. And Jordan Davis, if he's in the shape that he needs to be in, that'll be tough to deal with. We just talked about Jomo. You're going to get to the other guy later, but this is it's kind of lining up, I think, for him. I don't want, he's talking about Dallas Hunt. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But I think this could be a really good spot for Nolan Smith to have a breakout year. I think he gets 10 sacks this year. Even last year, he had 8 TFLs, 11 quarterback hits. So this is a player who's really, really ascending. And I think, it's been cool to watch the physical, the athletic gifts, the speed still be there as he gets stronger. And that's going to be just, hell off the edge this year for them.
I know the play you're talking about, taking on those polars, Super Bowl. Was it Trey Smith?
Yeah.
He actually the highest paid guard in NFL history.
100-pound weight difference.
Absolutely nuked him on site. And that's what I thought Smith would struggle with. So I'm with you. He's grown into a player that's so much more all around than I thought. And he was another guy I threw the Bruce Irvin comp at. And there's a lot of that kind of where he's wiry strong, not the thickest build, but they're strong anyways. And man, he's just turned a good player. So I'm glad you shouted him out, and he really came along. I'm going to go with the other edge. They also, man, we talked about this too with top 10 defenses. They had Josh Uche and Oko Okoronkwo. They had these other guys that throw at the pack. God, rich get richer, man. I went with Jalen Hunt, drafted to be a project in mind, but has already showed that he's got more to him right away, even as a rookie. And I think they realize the same thing. Coming out of Cornell and then Houston Christian, he was a 3rd rounder last year. But once the playoffs started, or really the second half of the year, they started juicing up his snaps. He played 42 total snaps from weeks 1 through 9. 42 total snaps. He averaged 25 snaps a game after week 10. 9% pressure rate. I told you 10% is kind of that cutoff for good or solid. Had a good stop rate. His pressure rate, his numbers are very comparable to Josh Sweat, who he just replaced, who went to Arizona. I just think this guy's got the juice. He's next in line. Not anointing him as all pro, going to be all this, but I think he's going to be a nice, good contributor for this defense. It has a lot of good players on it. And I think he has that bend and that movement skills to have some really flashy, splashy plays where it's like, yeah, that's some real, where he gets the all 22 clip where he's ghost rushing somebody, highlight on a national TV game, something of that sort. But yeah, Jalen Hahn, I think, is the next in line for this defense and team that just keeps on churning, keeps on finding dudes. All right, their over under win total is at 11.5. Chuck, over under 11.5 for the Eagles.
Over. I think
I'm
get
also
back to
going
12
over.
12 to 14 wins.
Yeah, I'm probably at the very least a Final Four team prediction for me, which I'm not. Oh, that's crazy! Oh my God, the favorites in the NFC, you're going to go with them, but I don't see them. I don't see any drop off with this team. I just think they're such a good team.
The crazy thing is, like, when you go to their offense and like there's still room to get better here.
Yep.
They were 14th in pass success rate. They were 9th in rush success rate. They were 13th in red zone touchdown rate. I mean, there's still room for them to get a lot better here with the personnel they have. That's kind of scary. It's kind of scary.
I know. That's what's crazy about it. It's like, what do you even say? They're good. They're good. And they do a lot of cool things and a lot of things well. So yeah, just keep on churning, Philly. All right, getting on to one of the surprise teams of 2024, a Final Four team. That was the Washington Commanders, formerly known as the Washington Football Team. Bring it back. They went 12-5 in 2024, and again made the Final Four. Like I said, Jayden Daniels, quarterback, is number 2 pick, won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Really, really fun to watch. Nobody is tackling him still to this day. Jayden Daniels is still running past another defender, grasping for his ankles. But this was an offense that all of us are kind of high on, but also just have some questions, kind of a do it again, Cliff Kingsbury type of thing. But Cliff was I thought did a really nice job last year, adding layers to his offense. Thought they did some really cool things at an up tempo. Nobody runs more up tempo than them or will this year. So I just want to see that next step, that next layer of them next year. But for you, Charles, when you're watching this offense, what are you focusing on? What's kind of grabbing your attention? Do you have some question marks? You got Terry McLaurin still holding out. And Brian Robinson might be on the trade market or cut, apparently.
Yeah, I don't get
but
that.
what are your big question marks for the Washington Commanders?
The Brian Robinson one is interesting, but I kind of don't get why they're trying to move him, but at the same time, like, it's not like I'm not gonna make a big fuss about like if they do feel like they want to move him, or if they will, like, he was the all average back, on our team this year. So
he was
I can't let myself I can't have that and then let myself like get worked up about him, getting traded or getting cut. So but still stay enough that I don't know, but with the guys behind him, I guess, they seem high on Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt, their 7th round pick from this year. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess he's good enough to just bail on Brian Robinson already. So we'll see what happens there. But obviously, like, the big thing here is to get Terry back, please. Please get Terry back. Like, you gotta, you need him. You need him because, the offense outside, or I should say, like, the pass games, catchers, the skill players over there, it's not that strong once you get past Terry. Like Deebo Samuel is not the player that he used to be. You're talking about like Noah Brown and Luke McCaffrey. Zach Ertz is still starting at tight end for you. It gets thin pretty quick. And then you're putting yourself in a spot where, maybe Terry's not like fully ready to go because he hasn't practiced, and there's more of a workload on Jayden Daniels, which, I mean, I think he showed last year he could do. I mean, watching Jayden, it's like if you play like Madden or new college football games out and you crank it up to a higher difficulty, you call like a robot quarterback where you got all the answers, but all of a sudden he's just done something to dip out the way and he's got a first down, or he's running and he's found someone open down the field. So, Jayden's gonna find answers by himself, but it's just gonna get tough for him. It's gonna get tough for him if Terry's not there, because I just don't think they have. Where's the juice coming from if Terry's not on the field? Like who who's going to be like a provider of big plays or even like consistent plays. Maybe Debo in like the short area of the field, but like you already have Austin Eckler and this other running back you really like. I think Terry is such an imperative factor that they got to get him in as soon as possible to get practicing, because they need those reps together. We saw how crucial that was for them last year.
And this offense, Cliff Kingsbury's offense, and I know air raid connotations are a lot of like, oh, mesh and screen receiver screens. And I know that is a part of this offense. It's going to be a big diet of this offense. But this offense needs size on the outside. We talked about those stop routes just a second ago, or go balls on the outside. But this offensive system, they had DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona, and then they made sure to go get AJ Green on the other side, two of the best ball winners of our generation, of our last 10, 15 years, is because that's what they wanted. They wanted the static routes on the outside, vertical routes. Okay, we're going to go dunk on guys. Terry is great in that role. I think Terry and Jane Daniels had some great chemistry, back shoulder, stop routes, especially in the red zone. I think I read somewhere, I want to say it was Barnwell, wrote it that Terry McLaurin, when Jane Daniels targeted Terry McLaurin in the red zone, he had 100 QBR. That means you're not losing. That means 100% of the time you're winning. When he targeted Terry McLaurin, they just had a great chemistry, and it was part of Jane's throw style. Even at LSU and Arizona State, he likes targeting to the outside. He doesn't really work over the middle. But guess what? He can do the outside stuff really well. Helps when he had Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, and then helps now when he had Terry McLaurin, who is good at that. So it's just taking away one of the easy buttons of this offense, and I don't like that. I think that the offense is based on that relationship. That is their, like I just said, their easy buttons. 3rd and 8, throw a stop route. Hey, we're in the red zone, hit Terry again, or you run it, Jaden. And then you take that away. I do think it gets resolved, but it's just not great. It's not exactly what I'm really liking. And then I look over there, and it's like you said, it's Noah Brown or Luke McCaffrey on the other outside. You need another outside presence. Diami Brown, but he did help in this offense, but based on his skill set. And Debo is Debo. Debo's a unique player. Do think he took a step back last year. And again, in this offense, so is that jet sweeps, him in the backfield. Okay, you can do some interesting stuff with that. But again, that's more of a sprinkling. I'm not basing my whole offense off of Debo. It's just more of like a fun package we can throw at teams and just change it up and make it hard on defenses, as opposed to something that we're really coring in every single week. So it's just like everything I like, there's something about that I kind of, I'm looking, squinting sideways. Like I like what they did with the offensive line. Okay, Laramie Tunsil didn't go right in Houston. Okay, he had a lot of mistakes, a lot of mental mistakes as well, false starts, all that stuff. He's still talented. He's still a left tackle, all pro caliber left tackle. And then they drafted Josh Connerly, who I really like. So it's like, okay, yeah, you guys really helped the offensive line. You guys are learning. Okay, you're eating your vegetables. This is good. And then there's other things. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't, okay, all right, I guess that's okay. Like I like John Bates. I'm glad they brought him back, the blocking tight end, but you still are targeting Zach Ertz a ton. It's fine safety net, but it's not like a needle mover. So I do think the offense will be solid, at the very least solid, potentially good. It's just, I just still have question marks about them until maybe the season starts and I can see exactly what this vision is going to look like, this year 2 version of this coordinator, this quarterback, this offensive system and everything. And also, rookie running back that had drafted Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Mm-hmm. Weird play history. Alabama State, goes to New Mexico. Then he tries to transfer to Arizona, but then he tried to transfer back to Ole Miss, and then he went, oh, no, actually, I'm going to Arizona. And then due to eligibility issues stemming from an NCAA discrepancy regarding his jersey number 21 being used by another player after redshirting at Alabama State, he was not eligible to play last year. So he only went for like 100 yards total last year. And then only playing the Shrine game. I don't know what that ruling is. So I'm really curious. I haven't read all the way into it.
Someone wore his jersey after he was redshirted. And that led to him being ineligible. But he was redshirted. So why can't someone else wear his jersey number? Who cares?
I don't know. Man. I got to pull up the beast. All. Maybe I ask my guy Dane about this. Dane Krugler. But I know, but
that's really interesting. I think one thing I get stuck on with this offense, and honestly, the whole team, is you have that huge breakout performance last year where they go 12-5. I mean, shoot, we trashed them last August. We were not Commanders supporters. We were pretty down on them, but they go 12-5. They get to the NFC title game. They got demolished there, but you still like had a run that no one really foresaw. But then like when you're building for this season, I think you still see, oh, okay, there's still the remnants of a team that picked number 2 overall very recently, because they're thin, man. They're really thin. Like once you get past Terry, oh, this is shaky. Like the offensive line, like you had to go inject talent in there. I just don't really think they added like enough depth this offseason, I guess, to make me like confident that they can just go out there and repeat last year. Now, luckily, like you have a quarterback who we saw last year can pull, he's
mouthwash.
Pull kind of tricks them too. Right. So even when things are going bad, like he's still gonna be able to figure stuff out, and that is like that alone can get you to top 10 offense. I just wonder if the ceiling's a little capped because of the depth.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like the little things they did with the line. I always like when team adds to the line, doesn't chase, but then they chased. And then they also like the guy that helped make the offense go, they're playing around with. It's just, okay, let's just make this easy on us. Us trying to figure out what you're going to be. They had the 4th down luck as well. And that's, again, I think they'll have some higher floor. It's like they raised their floor a little bit with some of these other guys, but then they just capped their ceiling a little bit and lowered their ceiling a little bit. So yeah, I'm with you. I mean, let's talk about the defense, because like you said, that's part of why last year I had a lot of questions, and I still do on this defense. I don't think this defense has improved at all. It's really my big hang up with this unit. It's just, who are you going to stop? And I think, again, that's why last year I was like, I don't know if they can pull together these games. And even this offseason, they had so many 1-year contracts with all these vets. I was like, I'm curious who they decide is to bring back that they considered important. First guy they signed was Bobby Wagner. And I was like, okay, but I know Bobby Wagner got 2nd team All-Pro last year. I'm not insulting.
Yeah, we're the lone holdouts, I think, on that one.
He's not a good player right now, and he's downhill.
He's just not. I don't get it.
He's just not, and it's weird to talk about such a legend, but he's not. It's easier to say when he doesn't get freaking All-Pro, and then everyone goes, "Well, you got All-Pro last year." It's like, but you're not. I know.
We just look insane. We look insane. I know how we look, but he's just not a good linebacker anymore. He's not. He's a negative player.
Okay, Frankie Louva's next to him. Frankie Louva is a good football player, but he's unique. You have to use him in certain ways. Then up front, it's like Daron Payne's good. Johnny Newton's interesting, but then you sign Javon Kinlaw. Okay, and now we got 36-year-old Von Miller starting on the outside. Von Miller hasn't started since he tore his Achilles 3 years ago. He's 36. It's nothing against the run. And then on the outside, okay, we trade for Marshawn Lattimore, who's volatile. Mike Sainristil, good player last year, but they bumped him to the outside. I pictured him as a slot, but a good, smart player. I like Sainristil a lot. And then they drafted Trey Amos, who I like, but has injury history. So it's just, again, I'm looking at their defense. I'm like, who's rushing the passer? Who's getting the sacks? And are you guys going to be able to be consistent against the run? Because I don't know who's dynamic. Payne's a good player, I should say that. But you're going against the run because you don't have great size on the outside. So I'm just going to – and Bobby Wagner can't run. So I'll just run outside on this team all day and just make them tackle over and over. But sorry, I took the mic right away because I had to get into this defense. But what are you focusing on with this defense? Because if you can't tell – there's some stinkiness with it. And I love Dan Quinn. I really do. He's a great person. And he can get the most out of a lot of guys because he gets them playing fast. It's just, I just have a lot of questions with this defense and exactly how they're going to attack offenses, and especially in this division too. So what do you think about this year?
I think the personnel just feels kind of worse than last year. Because I don't, the swapping out John Allen for Kinlaw, I don't really get. You had opportunities to go get a real pass rusher. I guess maybe you struck out. You got stuck with Von Miller, who, like as you said, at this point in his career is just not the same guy. What is kind of funny about their defensive line is it's all these guys that, and really the front seven, like that Dan Quinn liked or had in Atlanta at some point. You got Eddie Goldman here, Sheldon Day. Was an undersized guy who was like in the Grady Jarrett draft. Carl Davis was another big athletic defensive lineman that didn't do anything. Duke Riley's on this team. kind of made me laugh a little bit. I was like, hey, the gang's all back together. But unless Johnny Newton, the defensive tackle, unless he like really improves and like just goes nuclear this year, I think it's just going to be tough for like Daron Payne to be like the everything man for this front seven. Like he's a good player, but he's not Aaron Donald or one of these like super duper elite defensive tackles. Like he's a guy that when you have a John Allen, it's a really good for him. But when he's gonna have to be the guy that carries a little, like we'll see how that goes, because the Kinlaw contract, I thought that was just weird. Because
it was weird.
He did play better with the Jets than he had with the 49ers, but like not so much that you need to invest this. So like it's gonna be tough sledding on these cornerbacks, man. That's where I think I end up. Now I like, you look at the cornerback room, it's not bad. So maybe this is a group that can kind of withhold that. And they did finish I think they finished like top 5 in like success rate or EPA against the pass last year. I don't really see that repeating itself. But Lattimore, Sanders still, and if Trey Amos is the guy that we kind of thought he was pre-draft, that's still a good cornerback room. It's just a lot of stress, unless we see stuff that we haven't seen from their current defensive line in front 7.
In Dallas, Dan Quinn became like a man coverage and cover 2 guy. And with this defense and this, he also had Micah Parsons, which really, and a lot of juice actually up front. DeMarcus Lawrence, Odigizua. They had some dudes at corner that could just keep up with those guys. Like this defense, I'm like, are you gonna be a cover 2 team? I don't know. That's not why you trade for Marshawn Lattimore. You want Marshawn Lattimore to get up in people's grills. All right, you're gonna live in man. Okay, so that means you're gonna have Luvu or Bobby Wagner on a running back. And okay, I just made fun of what the Dallas has a running back, but okay, go against your Tyrone Tracy used to be a receiver, and now he's playing running back. Go to the Eagles. Saquon Barkley, you're going to go man coverage on Saquon Barkley with one of your linebackers? And yeah, I sound like I'm just poking at little holes, but guess what? This is what established offensive coordinators with weapons, that's what they're going to do against this defense. They'll find that one little guy that can't hold up, and usually the way that you wipe that away and go, oh, but doesn't matter, we can just do this, is a pass rush. And their pass rush, I'm not optimistic about it. I don't think it's going to be the worst I've ever seen, but I'm just like, I don't know. And I think they're going to be in a lot of games where teams are going to be able to pass. They're going to be a lot of neutral game scripts, or maybe, game scripts where teams are going to be able to run or pass on them. They'll have those options. So I just think that teams, no matter what, are going to be able to find their path of least resistance. So that just puts a lot on the offense that we still have a little bit of question marks with some of their stuff. So it's just that they didn't do. You always have to shore up something. I just was curious with a lot of their moves. The Kinlaw one was especially because I kind of know what he is. And is that like an Adam Peters? I'm the only probably person, Adam Peters. I'm the only person in the world that confuses a GM with an offensive line coach for the Bengals. But that he was maybe, oh, that's my former 49ers guy. Now we get him. He's gonna get unlocked in this defense. So I just have a lot of questions with this unit, even if there's a couple guys I like and a couple things I like about it. I still like Johnny Newton. He's battled injuries, but I still like him. But I got to see it. Yeah. I got to see it for a full season. Yeah. To get a jump in this defense. You need those guys to make a jump. And it's just hard to kind of, again, set your clock to. So last thing I'll end on with their defense, where they rank in pressure rate. They were 17th in pressure rate last year among all defenses. And they finished kind of a little bit below that in the second half of the year. Feels about right even this year. 17th, 20th, somewhere in that range, which then I think they have to be a top 10 pressure rate team for me to feel good about this defense just overall. All right. Breakout player. Who do you got for this team, Washington Commanders?
I'm rolling with Trey Amos, the cornerback that they took in the second round of the draft this year. I compared him to AJ Terrell. They had like identical combines. Just like, maybe not the most explosive guy, but just really fluid movement abilities, good ball skills, like technically sound. So I think like adding that guy as your third guy, like that's the third guy you add in to Sanders still and Lattimore. If Lattimore's healthy, that's a good cornerback room. So I think he's going to have his opportunities to break out this year. It might be tough sledding sometimes because we just talked about the pass rush. We don't know how strong it's going to be this year, but that was a good prospect to kind of round out that cornerback trio. So Trey Amos is my breakout player.
Yeah, the high end of the corner room is good. I liked Amos a lot too. He's one of those guys that was like, I don't have a first round grade on him. He was a day 2 guy in my brain, but it was one of those day 2 guys I really liked. It's like if I had to pick one of these, green chippers as I put them, I really liked him. So I agree with that pick. I went with their second round pick last year, Johnny Newton, who I just mentioned several times. Newton, couple sacks last year, a couple TFLs, had some 7 QB hits as well, which is always a nice sign. Very disruptive player, tough nose, hard player as well. Might have to worry about some late hits. He likes to throw it at the quarterback a little bit. But I just liked him as a player, and I think he could break out because I think he'll get the opportunities to do so. He has way more juice than Kinlaw does. So I think he deserves snaps because I think they need this dynamic kind of presence. So I'm going to go with Johnny Newton out of Illinois. Illinois just trotting out NFL defenders every year now. It's just kind of crazy. All right, over under win total. It's 9.5 this year. Last year was 6.5, and me and Matt may have picked the under on that one. I don't know. Maybe not my best selection ever, but 9.5. What do you got, Charles? Over or under?
This is tough.
It's
just like, I guess like the question is, how much can Jaden Daniels overcome? But we did go under on the Giants, and we over on the Cowboys and over on the Eagles. I think I'm going to go under at 9-8. I'm going to go under. I think they win 8 or 9 games this year.
I'm also going 9.
And I don't think it'll be because like Jaden Daniels took a step back or anything. I don't think that will be the reason why, but that's where they end up, I think.
It feels like a similar conversation about the Bengals, where it's like, I have faith in this offense and I have faith in the quarterback. It's the defense.
Yes.
And I'm just like, Bengals have better receivers, but
you know what I could see this looking like? I could see this looking like Dak Prescott's second year in the NFL, where everyone was like super down on him because the counting stats weren't great. And then you look back and he had 70 QBR for the season. That's kind of what I see in store for Jaden Daniels, like year 2 Dak Prescott. Like, if you're watching the games, you're like, this dude still has it, but the counting stats might not be, as otherworldly as they were last year.
That's a great call. And they finished 9-7 that year. I remember that year we played them. I was with the Raiders. That was the note card game with Gene.
Yes.
Satori. Yeah. I'm not bitter at all.
Man, the note card game.
Jason Witten's patting him on the ass. Oh, he had a little smirk afterwards. Oh, I'm still bitter about it. Every time he talks on giving his ruling where he hems and haws, just all I picture is that note card. I also went under, but that's the thing. Commanders fans, just listen, hear me out. This is not a Jaden Daniels slight. This is not a Cliff Kingsbury and is found out and everything. I just think there will be some, even if the offense finishes top 12, which I think is very valid that they can do, even with the question marks we have, the defense just doesn't do a lot for me. And they also have a tougher strength of schedule this year. And that's something we got to keep in our mind too. And their division got better. Eagles are Eagles. Giants aren't going to be a total joke last year. And the Cowboys got Dak Prescott back. So it's just even their division's a little tougher. So 9 wins feels 8 to 10 range is perfect. And I think 9 wins is kind of how I feel with this team, because I just think the quarterback's going to have to do a lot, and we'll see if everybody else can help him out. Final division prediction. I think this one's pretty easy for both of us, but who do you think is going to win the NFC East this year, Charles?
Yeah, the team that just absolutely demolished the Chiefs and had Patrick Mahomes play the worst game of his life. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles.
I am also going with the Philadelphia Eagles, and probably my NFC pick as of right now. But we got a couple of weeks until we're doing that final prediction show and everything, and I'll marinate on it. But yeah, Philadelphia Eagles, feeling pretty dang good about that team. Feeling pretty dang good about this show. We're closing it out today. We'll be back on Wednesday, me and Matt, with the AFC East. That's how we're doing it. East this week, West next week. Make sure to check out or come on in to the Venetian, please. Again, that's this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Check out those happy hours. It'll be a lot of fun with us. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. That is Charles McDonald. You can find him at 4verts on social media. We got a bunch of stuff we're working on, so check it out on Yahoo. Check us out on social media, Twitter and Blue Sky. Subscribe to us. Follow us, rate us. Also watch us on YouTube and subscribe to us there and rate us there at the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Thanks to Stone, Madison, and Ingrid behind the scenes for making us look and sound good. Thank you all for listening. See you guys on Wednesday.